Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. How was your weekend?
Weekend was pretty good. The weekend was pretty good. Relaxing. We actually got some snow on Friday, which was surprising. Where I am in New York, got a little bit of snow. Did not expect that. And then the rest of the weekend was all right. Not too bad. How was yours, Coach?
Good. Um, Actually got around to golfing.
Nice.
Um, uh, Coached some basketball and got some sleep, much needed sleep.
I did catch up on some sleep for sure. Did catch up on some sleep. That was very important after last week. Uh, did you watch the Masters?
Oh, absolutely. That was I always watch the last day,
Okay.
tape it, and it was
Championship
a
day.
championship day. That's the whole goal.
Right.
Um, See, I just think one thing I really admire about golf is, and the way it relates to trading is in golf, it's you.
Right.
You live with your decisions. You live with your execution. There's no one else to blame, and the pressure that comes along with it, um, it's just incredible. Those guys are incredible.
Percent. Yeah, I watched the championship round. We were talking in the green room, coach. I'm probably going to start picking up some clubs this summer, and getting into the game myself. I did play ball on play basketball Sunday morning as well. While I'm still young enough to do it, uh, the recovery is not the same. So gonna have to find something a little bit slower to play. But hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a top step performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some of my experiences, knowledge, and help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach. I was going to switch over to the Trader Hub, but it looks like the Trader Hub's having a little bit of issues here. But as far as news goes, there was not much as far as planned numbers go. Today was a very quiet day. Not much as far as planned numbers goes. We know over the weekend we did hear that the tariffs on semiconductors was going to be postponed, and then I think we heard another headline that said that that wasn't true. So again, a lot out of the a lot of news when it comes to tariffs. What do you believe? What is there to believe? Or do we even care at some point? Do we just trade the markets that are in front of us and understanding that a headline can bring in volatility? Anything you had on the news front, coach?
The lack of news,
Yeah,
which collapsed the volatility, got hit hard. Maybe we will return back to semi-normal ranges and volatility, most likely, but not only in the stocks, but in the currencies and in the um, interest rates. I mean, across the board, we talked Friday, it's going to be very hard to sustain this type of volatility.
for sure.
So big hits in vol, um, probably because of lack of news.
Yeah, I think
Um,
everybody's waiting for something to come out, and nothing comes out. So it's like, okay, well, we can sit here and trade against each other
True.
instead of a headline. Let's take a look at the quote board. We have 35 different markets we can trade with top step accounts. And today, to the downside, we had wheat futures down 1.62%, soybean oil down 2.11%, and natural gas down 5.47% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had the Nikkei the Nikkei up 1.63%. Lean hogs up 1.85%, and copper futures, our biggest percentage mover to the upside at 3.13%. To talk about our big four, we had crude oil up 0.24%, the S&Ps up 0.6%, gold down 0.56%, and the NASDAQ rounding out our big four at to 8% to the upside. I have a NASDAQ chart up here, coach. All right, and just a quick announcement: the 150K subscriber celebration, where every person signed up for a coach. There was a little bit of an issue with the emails. Gabe mentioned it at the end of the show. They're gonna get those right, but you should get those coming to you soon. And then MP also announced this morning that a everybody was going to get a free reset. You're going to get an email for that tonight as well. Actually, Andrew just said it should be going out now. So sometime soon, you should be getting an email about your free reset. If you're on the new dashboard, I believe they said it's just going to be credited to your account. And if you're on the old dashboard, you should be getting a promo code to use one free reset courtesy of Topstep. Mason says, just got it. Just got it. Good stuff, everybody. Look at Topstep, caring about their traders.
And I would add one thing is that it's a very fortunate thing for a lot of traders right now. Value it.
Oh, yeah.
Value it. It's see if you can, how long you can, if you can improve your trading. It's a gift.
Don't just use it as a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, don't exactly. Stay in jail. No, use it. Use it wisely. It's a gift, a generous gift, and learn, and use that in wisely.
One coach. All right. Let's get into these markets. I have a NASDAQ chart up here. Let's start with the daily, coach. I did a market kickoff last night, and we talked about a potential level that the market needed to get above if what the president said on Wednesday of last week, now's a good time to buy, was actually the case. What are we looking at here on the daily, coach?
What is that yellow line?
20 moving average on the daily chart.
It's been the resistance now for 1, 2, 3 out of 4 days. It's been a resistance for the last month. Was the high today, wasn't it?
Pretty much on the open.
On the opening. So we're starting to change. First thing, we're finding balance. What I mean by that, it's not, we've been in the same range as that candle from, when was that, Wednesday?
This was Wednesday, correct?
Yeah. The selling, the panic selling is abided for now. That is reflected in the range today. We had a range in the NASDAQ of 517, which still, it's a decent range.
That's a consolidation.
The average true range on Friday at the end of the week was 971 points. So it's the selling is slowing down, volatility is coming in, and it's starting to trend to the downside. That is a sign that the panic is abating. But for me to turn to want to buy it, we'd have to close above that 20-day moving average. We haven't yet. It's still trending down. We're still under the 200-day moving average, and the 50, the death cross is still there. So I'm leaning towards a buy. That's just from the structure.
Yep.
That doesn't mean it's going to go up. I still have to execute a strategy to buy it, but that's where we're at now. Is there anything else you see in there, Coach?
No, that's pretty much it. When we did the Sunday kickoff, we talked about that 20 moving average on the, it being a resistance the entire way down. Looking at that level for a daily candle close above to then trade outside of Wednesday's range for a trend up. The other side of that was if we can't close above that 20 moving average, then we just rotate right back through that Wednesday range until we get another headline that's going to move these markets, right? Looks like we're finding balance and not really too much of a reason to get directional right now. Let's go down to a 30-minute chart, and we can kind of see the same thing, right? If we look at let me change this to extended trading hours. If we look at last night's open, The 30-minute candle from last night was pretty much the entire range for the day. We did have about a 1.5% gap up on the NASDAQ. And I know Dakota took a short this morning. We both came in this morning looking to buy it. And I think if you watched Fast Markets this morning, it was a great example of having a bias and loosely holding that bias for your trades. Dakota and I both came in this morning saying, looking to buy the dip. And I normally don't do that, but I was looking for that 20 moving average to hold and to potentially trade above. But once it showed there was really no momentum to the upside, and Dakota kind of switched his bias really quick. I did take a long, but went to see profit, take profit mode, and then eventually got short in the market as well. Um, so you can have a general idea for what you think the market is going to do, but if it doesn't do it, uh, if you're going to trade, it's probably in your best interest to adjust to what the flow of the market says instead of what I need, right? Because if I was just buying this where I came in and said it should be a buy, there were some decent losses. But if we look at that 30-minute opening range from last night, Coach, VWAP flat line, range bound markets. This is the rangiest of range bound markets we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and you on a gap open, which
Yep.
we're seeing on Sunday night opens in a lot of different areas. Um, Never broke out of it. Tested it later. Was kind of a repeat. Um, it goes back to the theme is the selling, the panic selling is abated for now.
Yep.
Um, so there was good opportunity on both sides of this market on a shorter term. If we go to the opening 5 minutes or 3 minutes, whichever one you
Oh,
prefer.
we're gonna use a 3-minute, Coach.
Oh, I know that.
Uh,
But I wanted to give you an option.
Here we go. Here's the first 3 minutes. We'll leave that VWAP red. We'll change the overnight to yellow. Really nice sell off the open, Coach.
Yeah, it was a nice sell 2-to-1 trade. There was urgency on the gap after we tested those highs. And classic goes right back to the bottom of that range. I'm never patient enough to wait for that. I'm guilty as charged, but it gave it early. It was a great sell. Not being greedy. I still believe 2-to-1 on a day trade is reasonable.
Yep.
Anyway, we just faded it away. It was a nice early trade. Is there a J trade in there? I didn't see one. I was looking for one.
There was one a little bit later on in the and there were some nice trades today. I know the house account took a long at 19,100. That was a level that I was looking at kind of being 50% of this, 30-minute range from last night. The reason I didn't take this trade right away, Coach, was because of this flow, right? I didn't get into the short, and I know that this for me is an A+ trade setup. This is the trade that I quote unquote should be in. But seeing that this trade was the one that was playing out kept me out of a long when the market looks like this, right? I had a price level that I said is a general area of interest. When the flow is this heavy into that area, I don't want to step in and buy it. So I did ultimately end up buying right around 19,098, but I did it after that sell side pressure kind of settled a little bit, right? We see VWAP start to flatten out. We never crossed under the overnight VWAP for the New York session, kind of just started to run in parallel. And when I see this, I'm a little bit more comfortable buying. And I bought two micros, 1998. And we can see even that, 50-point drawdown in this trade, but I have an area where I can limit risk, which was this most recent swing low. Uh, wasn't looking for a huge trending trade up. Maybe back to this opening range was my target. I think I said 190s was my target. And eventually we got there. But I think, again, uh, having just a price level that I want to execute a trade at, if I just trade on price, I probably get stopped out of this trade really quick because I'm saying, hey, this is my level. That's where I want to buy it. But if I can, incorporate the flow into that trade, I wait until that sell side pressure is done, and then taking the trade from there. Uh, Shout out to Dakota who did get short. For this move down, I think we tagged the opening range low, VWAP's below it, so range bound market says fade that extreme. Now this becomes the range since VWAP's been flat. Dakota got in short 19,150 for a really nice trend down. I think the one thing we did talk about, Coach, was how tight this range was for the beginning of the New York session, and eventually it was going to break. Right? I think during fast markets, Dakota said, "Hey, you know what? This looks like the time." Where we tested this low at 19,000 a couple of times. We saw some sellers there, didn't get the immediate follow through, but with the range being this tight, and this was a 250-point range for the New York session at that point, it was kind of hard to believe that we were going to stay there. Um, and eventually, we see that selling pressure break through that range, extend it by another 250 points before we revisit it. But a really nice kind of breakthrough trade after testing that support a couple of times here.
Yeah. No, I didn't see it. Yeah. NASDAQ, it's interesting. We didn't see a huge amount of selling. It's getting bought off those bottoms. There were bigger volume bars on the lows
Yep.
versus the rush where it's trading, where we had a J trade where the sellers were exhausted. We don't see that. We see some, I think that gives evidence of buying the dips is starting to happen. Buying some value, or it's just that the shorts are covering, but it's changing the character that we've seen over the last few weeks.
Yep. Shout out to Claude calling out the J trade on a 1 minute chart, right? And it is going to be depending on the time frame that you trade. But here's that 1 minute candle that you talked about, Claude. That was the highest 1 minute volume that we saw. One of the higher 1 minute volume candles that we saw outside of the open and whatever this spike was here. Nice trade there, right? At the lows of this move, we see that volume exhaustion. And we bounce from there. And what's really nice about this is that VWAP kind of leaves this range fairly early. We can see whatever this spike was as well at 1 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Central, held 50% of that perfectly. So nice area to look down here when we see that exhaustion. Maybe buying somewhere in this with risk below the lows. And are we cherry picking an example here? Claude, you might look at the 1 minute chart. I personally don't. But we've seen this play out, time and time again, right? Especially when that VWAP eventually leaves that range. Uh, you know, a properly placed stop survives whatever this move is, Coach.
Should expect. To me, the minimum is new lows. You're expecting it not to make new lows.
Right. And we came back and kind of revisited that price again as well. So I would keep that on my charts if I was you, Claude. Whatever this zone is right here, for whatever reason, the market's decided to react at these prices. That zone is 18,735 at the low, 18,815 at the high. I'd keep that one on my charts to see how the market responds around there. And that kind of coincides with what the gap was from last night. All right. Anything else on the NASDAQ, Coach? We move over to the equities, to the S&P real quick.
Let's go to the S&Ps.
Take a look. Anything different you're seeing here on the S&Ps, Coach?
Yeah, one thing, and let's go to the 3-minute opening.
Okay.
And see what the average true range was on the opening.
About 6 points. 15 minutes in, we were about at 8 points.
So we started out at 6 points. Where were we on Friday on the opening? I think it was like 20 points.
It's Friday on the open, we were at 15 points.
15 points. We've been averaging from 12 to 20 all the last couple of weeks. Today we were at 6. Now we're talking about position sizing. We've talked about it before. And the dynamics of the average true range in position sizing. This cleared the way to do, if you were at the minimum risk being 1 micro, with that information, now you can take a little for the same for the same dollar, you can take a little more risk. You can do two micros, maybe even three.
You've been talking about that, right? Once that volatility comes down a little bit, uh, that could be the opportunity to start scaling back up as far as size goes.
Yeah, exactly. So keeping that, it's dynamic. I'll never perfect. I don't know when it's going to change, but continuously monitoring it will give you the information you need.
Yep.
Um, just so it was, and it's bared out all day. This is why we're finding balance. Um, what usually happens when volatility um, peaks or bottoms happen, the average true range will start to shrink. It's a good sign. Now, the next sign is it's settling over the 20-day moving average. But right here on the opening, you saw it right there. Average true range down to 6 when it was at anywhere from 15 to 20 most of the last week.
Yep.
Big key. So you get to do 2 or 3. Not jumping to a mini again, which is
Coach Paul
very
said it was
tempting.
safe. I'm going 15 minis short. He said it
It's
was safe,
very
guys.
tempting. Yeah. So I thought that's the one key point I wanted to bring up, and knowing that all the time, so you have a good idea of your risk reward.
Coach. We did get a question, and guys, Topstep is aware that the emails may have gone to the wrong addresses, and we're working on fixing that. Billy says, "Isn't that scheduled buying? No news." So I think there was a Treasury auction at 1 p.m. Eastern time. If I could pull up the Trader Hub, I don't know if it's actually working now, so it's not working right now. But if I could pull up the Trader Hub, I'm pretty sure there was a Treasury auction at 1 p.m., which could give us some volume in the equities, right? And that might have been what we saw on that spike. Uh, and that spike range kind of held the rest of the day, right? Even into this close, whatever that low was, wherever those buyers stepped in, we can see again they're defending those prices right above 5,400, 5,405s. So another zone I would be keeping on my charts because that was a reaction to something. You can see the market revisited those prices. I think a Fed might have been speaking also. Yeah, there was something going on. I know there was something on the calendar. Uh, Kugler speaking. Okay, treasuries were earlier. Yeah, there was something going on here. Whatever it was, we know that the market reacted to it. We could see it in the volume. So I would definitely keep that zone in on my charts going forward. We can see VWAP left that range to the upside. So we'll see whether or not this is a buyable dip right here back into this zone at the lows. All right. Anything else on the equities, Coach, before we move on?
Oh no, well, let's move on.
Let's move. Let's take a look at gold here. Gold doing the gold thing, where it made new all-time highs and then it needs to take a breath.
Yeah.
What are we looking at here, Coach, on the daily?
Inside candle, taking a breath. Is it losing momentum?
I think it's building momentum.
But looking at that average true range there, can it keep up at this pace? We're starting to plateau a bit. It doesn't mean, and it's just something to keep an eye on. But the selling volume was not very big today, and neither was the range comparatively. I would myself would let's go to the half hour. Still above the 200. I'm not looking to get short, looking for a place to buy. We could go through a couple days. My feeling is, my experience is, we go through a couple of days of this.
Yep. Gold loves to do this. There was not much opportunity in gold today. I mean, unless you were a range bound trader, but even then, this was a pretty tight range that we kind of stayed in. Similar in all the markets, really, but we're talking about a 40-point range in gold, where it's decent. But if we look at by the time the New York session started, that's a 20-point range, Coach, $20 range.
Yeah. I It's taking you hit it right. It's taking a breath.
Yep.
For the way I trade, I'm not looking for anything big here. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but you know what? It's talking about sticking to a plan and a routine. Someone was asking me about how when I'm looking at moves. This one is off my radar because it doesn't have the DNA of the things I'm looking for. Um, but it might have it for you as a trader. But on a review, this is definitely cooling off. We'll see where we go from there. The best trades of the day and everything, and we can't trade it, was getting short Val, getting short
Yeah.
straddles. I mean, it was across the board. And this was the same thing. So
Who said that? Tenacious 21 said $20 range is a lot of money. It definitely is, right? Reason I say, for me at least for my style of trading, this is a tight range that I probably wouldn't want to trade. Uh, is because it's a $20 range, but the way I look at my trading is, what percentage of the move am I taking out of the trade, and then is it worth it to put that risk on to take the trade? So, right, so if it's a 20-point range, me personally, I'm looking for 50% of that range as my profit target, right? If I can take 50% of the move, high to low, 20 points, I'm looking for 10 points, and then in order for me to take 10 points out of this market, I got to be in pretty good trade location where I'm not getting chopped up. So for my strategy, it doesn't work, but that doesn't mean that there aren't trade opportunities in here because 20 points is more than enough room, like you said, right? With a one lot, that's 2 grand from high to low. If you're able to identify the extremes of those ranges, trade them from there. It was a flat VWAP, so if I wanted to trade it, I could have said, "Hey, VWAP's flat, pay the extremes." But for me, it's probably just a little bit better to just to stay out of those markets. Nice opening range short here as well from the 820 Eastern, 720 Central open. Kind of short right back into that range. Right. Anything else on gold, Coach? We'll go over to crude oil.
let's go to crude.
Go to crude on the daily in the range. It's the story for every market that we're looking at right now. This
Looks
Wednesday,
just like the equities.
yeah, it looks exactly like the equities. This whatever this Wednesday price action was, I would pay attention to this candle on every market that you trade. Uh, Similar to Coach, what was the date last year? Was it July 11th?
Yeah,
Remember how we were
July
talking?
11th.
We were talking about that July 11th candle for 6 months,
Yep,
right? And we
that
brought it up
was
again. We brought it up again on this sell-off where we sold back to those July 11th prices. For some reason, this Wednesday candle feels like that. Uh, it's
was that
like,
capitulation. I mean, excuse me, not capitulation. The change
yeah,
of the tariff, the announcement.
yes, it was. Yep, change of
Um,
tariff announcement. Yeah, and now is a good time to buy. Quote from the president. We're gonna be paying attention to that candle for a little bit.
um, so we don't. Yeah, look at that. But nice trade today by JD and Hoag,
Great trade.
which is they have a plan, they have a process, and it's a routine. Learn from that. I mean, they're gaining momentum too, doing it. They use the 1 minute candle, and I'll hand it off to you, Coach.
So what they're looking at, if you're not aware, Hogue and JD are looking at 1 minute opening range trades in gold and crude oil when they do the opening call. So they're looking at the 1 minute opening range in crude oil. That's 9 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Central. And then in gold, we'll go back to gold and take a look at that example. But that's 8:20 Eastern time, 7:20 Central. So basically, what they're doing is high and low of the opening range, waiting for a break of the opening range in either direction, and then your stop is going somewhere above, somewhere on the other side. So they got short in this case. They were risking probably about 30 ticks on this or $300 with a one lot. That trade was in a drawdown, right? About 20 points in drawdown, but they accepted whatever the risk was. And I think they held that trade all day. I don't know when they actually closed it. Um,
About 12:30.
okay. So,
They had
wow.
Yeah, I think they made $800 on it.
Okay, so really
On
nice
a
trade. They
one
probably
lot.
closed it on this pop right here, which on a one lot making about $800, and that trade was the simplest analysis that you could have in the markets, right? It doesn't have to be anything extremely complicated. The market's going to establish a range. It's either going to trade in that range, above it, or below it. It traded below it, I'm short. I don't have to think anymore. My risk goes on the other side. Just manage the risk. It's the simplest trade you could take, coach.
They're the best. In my book, keep it simple, stupid is, the old KISS theory. And it also follows the seven principles of consistent winners.
Mhm.
We haven't talked about it in a while, but what is number one? Objectively define an edge. Okay, the edge is the sell of the breakout out of the 1 minute. Predefine the risk. Willing to risk 300. Okay. Accept that risk or don't take the trade.
They
Done.
took the trade.
This is where you can get into a routine. The act on their edge without hesitation. And in 1 minute bar, there is no hesitation, right? You take it or you don't.
Yep.
And then get paid um, when the market makes it available. They trailed it down. It was now. Does this work all the time? Absolutely not. It's not
No.
meant to do it, but it's a process.
Yep. And they say it too when they take the trade. This is a low probability trade. You're not going to win a lot, right? And they're completely accepting that because when it does work, it covers most of the time all of the losses that you take with taking it, right? So, a lot of times the focus is on a high win rate, right? I want to win 80% of my trades. Um, that's an ego thing, right? It's not wanting to feel the hurt of being quote unquote wrong on your trades, but it's a probability game, right? If I could win 30% of the time and that 30% covers the 70% plus some, then it's profitable, right? But I think what's really important there as well, and Coach Robert had sent something to us in Slack today about letting your trades work, letting your trades play out. The reason, and you'll hear Hogue and JD talk about it, don't Lenny the trades, right? Don't overmanage the trades, is because if I fully accept a stop out every single time I take one of these, I'm losing 300, 300, maybe 400 because the range is a little bit wider. And then when it wins, I only take $100 out of it, then I'm not allowing the probabilities to work, right? Every time I take a full stop out, but I'm cutting trades short, that's how trades get unprofitable, right? So for anyone listening, right, when you measure your strategy, I know a lot of times we focus on measuring the risk side of it, but we should be measuring the reward side of it as well, and having a general idea of how much we can expect for the outcome of our trades in order for them to be profitable, right? If you're trading a 30% win rate strategy and, every time you win, you're making a dollar. Every time you lose, you're losing $5. You're losing money. So let your trades work.
And that's another part of that following a routine. They trailed it. They had the original stop, then they trailed it with the movement, and there wasn't much. There was no. It wasn't fearful. There was no second guessing. I think that that second guessing and fear are cousins. Like, oh, it was I'm up. At one point that was up $300, and it probably trailed back to being up 100.
Right.
Oh hell, I should have got out when it was 300. And now the doubt comes in. I really believe that kind of they put it on, they accepted it, and they're not watching tick for tick for tick. If you're doing that, see how your heart rate runs. Start measuring your decision making. I know for myself when I really if I have an edge and I execute the edge, my best trades I don't even look at it.
What about this one, coach? Because if we look at where they got in right here on the break of this opening range and almost immediately were up $100. And then in about the same amount of time, we're down $100. So instead, I get upset and then I add here.
Yeah.
I add
But
instead of being in one, now I found myself in how am I in 3 minis now? And then this continued drawdown, which would have just been $200, is now $600, and now I can't accept that risk, and I'm taking the trade off here, and now I'm out, and then the market eventually goes in my direction. I was okay with accepting $300, but being down 150 made me uncomfortable. So then I tried to make it look a little better by doubling down on the position. I'm down 600. Now that looks horrible. I can't accept that. Then the market goes in my favor. Traders, who has been in that situation before? Raise your hands, because we all have, right? But you
I was
can't
really good
overmanage
at
that
it.
way. Oh yeah, yep,
Like I said, the big rally in the S&P and the double the odds. This can't continue to go. So I added to the losers.
yep. So
Anyway, if you've been there, learn from it. That was a great example.
yeah,
Or you were down 100, now it's down. You were up 100, now it's the position's down 100, and you get out because damn it, it's not going to work.
yep,
That was a common one for me too. And then to watch it break. So what does that say? Well, you didn't accept the risk.
yeah.
You felt you did, but if you
And now,
accepted the risk, you wouldn't even look at it.
right, and then what happens is now it does this, and I'm not in this trade, and I'm counting the money that I should have made because now I'd be up about $400. So then I'm gonna buy it here because this is the low. So now I'm just gonna buy it instead for it to trade back up to where my entry was, and then I lose more. Right? And I see some people in the chat saying, "Yes, this is me. I've done this. I've done all these things. We've all done them." Right? It's human nature, right? Which I think we have to fight against. So measure the risk the first time, and whatever it is, truly accept it. If you can't accept it, then trade smaller, right? Even if, and I think, Coach, sometimes people hear they're like, "Oh, what's the proper risk management for this account size?" And you can give general advice based on an account size, but at the end of the day, everyone has a different risk appetite. So if I'm telling you that, yeah, you should risk about $500 on a trade, and you're like, this guy's insane, I would never risk that much. I'm only comfortable risking 50. Then great. You have to be okay with smaller rewards on your trades right now as well, but you're building up a risk appetite right now. In order to start making some money, you might have to have a bigger risk appetite, but every trader isn't also in the earning phase of their trading career, right? A lot of traders are in their learning phase. And if you're learning, maybe you don't want to learn with $500 a trade. Maybe you don't want to learn with $300 a trade. You learn with 50, and that's fine, right? But just accept what phase of trading you're in, and then take the trades from there. But you have to let them work.
Bingo. You have to develop a routine.
Yep.
This is really important. Like we just went through all those things that drive us off.
Yep.
Well, it's good here. I could get back, and now I'm chasing, just trying to make money, or I call it chasing loss. That is actually a routine.
Yeah.
It's a losing routine. So finding and determining, we said here, it's the 1 minute breakout. Okay, let me see how I can I execute this without veering from the rules. That's it. I mean, that's when you do that. If you do that now with a routine, you can find consistency. You can tamp down fear.
Yep. Uh, and then just back to the reset and the email thing, guys. The team knows that the emails may have gone to the wrong people. Just be patient. They'll fix it. And don't put reset codes in the chat. Don't do that. All right. Any other markets we want to talk about, Coach?
Yeah, let's look at the bonds.
Look at the bonds. 30-year?
30-year.
All right. And nothing, I saw your comment. Somebody needs to speed up this learning phase. The way to speed it up is to actually go through it, but actually accept it, right? How many of us probably tell ourselves that, yeah, I'm in the learning phase, and then we don't actually do the hard lessons, right? We want to do the easy stuff, coach. We want to put on the trades when they work out. Never want to do the other side of it, right? We don't want to eat the vegetables. Uh, Ask yourself, have you actually been doing that? Right? It's not fun. It's not fun. Dakota put out the challenge of trade 1 micro for a year, and it's, you know, can you actually do that? And that's he admitted it. It's not going to be fun, but you're going to learn a lot, and you're actually going to be able to trust your trades a lot more. It's going to suck, but a year from now, you're going to say, "Hey, you know what? I learned a lot from that experience, and I'm able to take the same trades all the time now. And now I can scale up. Now I can take 2 micros. Now I can trade 5 micros, right? And be making a lot more from these trades." But ask yourself how all of the advice that you've heard, because we're not saying anything different, coach, that we haven't been saying for the past, 8 months of doing at the buzzer on Topstep TV. But how many people tune in every single day? And then when the charts, when we're not on the stream and you're at your charts alone, how many people are actually implementing the information? The information is not going to change, right? It may adjust based on the market volatility, right? And we're talking about that. We might bring up a market that's in action, right? Coach Paul's scouting report. But as far as risk management and things like that goes, those, coach, you plan on changing your risk management suggestions anytime soon?
No, it's a principle.
So how many people are
Principles don't
actually
change.
implementing those things? Right.
That's good. But also, you just said something out of that, but from the question, and it reminds me of the great John Wooden, arguably the greatest basketball coach of all time. Truly, I don't believe in the greatest of all time, but truly great man, great coach. He had a book titled um, "Be Quick, but Don't Hurry." And when you first hear that, like, what are you talking about? It means you're in a hurry. So, this without a routine, without risk management, without executing some type of plan, you're going to be in a hurry. Coach Dakota, but trade a micro for 1 year. Well, if you do that, you can't be in a hurry. You learn to become quick. No, so what's the difference between being quick and being in a hurry? And when you understand that, it's the difference between being reckless and being assertive.
Yep.
And a lot of I know recklessness.
Me too.
As a young trader, I was reckless. Whether I made a bunch of money that eventually I gave back and then some, until I had a plan that I could execute, then I could be quick. Quick into what? Taking losses. Quick into it. Oh, that's what I'm looking for. Or finding an excuse to make any trade. Has anybody had that one?
Oh yeah.
There's more excuses than you can believe. That goes under being in a hurry. So, great question, but you have to find a way to be consistent.
Sure. All right, coach. I got the 30-year up here. What are we looking at in the 30-year? We're gonna go to a daily.
Well,
We're on a 30. Oh well.
Okay, we're on the 30 right here.
What's
Let's
that white
start
line?
with that white line, the 200, which we finally hit for a while. Look at the daily. That kind of volatility is in the bonds. I've been trading. I've been watching bonds every day since 1984. I think 2 or 3 other times that I see that kind of volatility and that quickness. It's supposed to be a boring, staid market. Look
So
at
boring right now.
Look what happened to the average true range.
Yeah, exploded on the daily.
That is not supposed to
Wow.
happen, and I think that really shook some players.
Hmm.
Like, this is supposed to be a place you go and put your money in a safe
And
place
don't look at it.
and don't look at it. So we are flattening out, but if you've ever been looking at this, if this cannot afford to pick up any more downside, it's going to cascade. That doesn't look like a bottom to me. It could be.
Hmm.
You know when the bottom's in, after it's in, you get clues. Now there was, one of the clues would be over the 20-day moving average. We're not over that, but the selling climb is climaxed in the moment. But that kind of movement, that's not that's not healthy for financial markets. This is supposed to be a place that you fall asleep. But
Waking them up,
thankfully,
coach.
the volatility came down a lot today. But
If you're looking at bonds, coach, we're day trading here. Are you day trading them? And what time frame might you be looking at to trade these? Right? Are you looking at the kind of equity open? Are you looking for overnight trades? How would I day trade these if I'm going
good question. Look, the market opens officially at 7:20. So let's mark the 7:20
same time as
and go to a
close?
3-minute or a 5-minute chart.
Go to a 5 minute on this. All right, so 7:20 is
Yep.
our open. Oh well, there you have it. Opening range trade. Anybody? Well, you would have gotten stopped out because we broke the opening range, 5 minute opening range to the downside. Would have gotten stopped out here. But if you add some flow to that, you saw it already. Flow is to the upside. It's a nice trade.
Yeah, and find patterns. I mean, this was a day that was up a point or 32 ticks, which is $1,000, a little more than that. But over time, that 5-minute off the opening, we could go to the 10-year, and I would suggest doing that for new traders.
It's a nice trade too. Before the equity open.
Yeah. Now look at the risk. Like, if I take that, I'm giving it two average true ranges. But I want the let's look at the 30-minute this morning before that.
30 minute from the equity open.
On the 10-year. Just see if we're under or above under
Oh,
the
got you, got you.
200 moving average.
Yep, got you. We're under it.
So we're under it. Um, Now I don't want to take the buy, but let's say you're taking a buy. You're just looking for to see where VWAP breaks out of it, and it's easier here than it is in equities because it doesn't for until lately it doesn't it doesn't flop around. It decides on a direction early because there's negligible amount of retail trading in there. This is there we go.
That was Fridays.
Yep.
Uh, these are some nice moves, guys. In markets that we don't talk about often. But these are some nice trades.
Yeah.
All
Frame
right,
out
coach.
that 720, see, measure your risk. But what I like about it, it doesn't like it's big money. So it's like a big river. A big river has big liquidity. A river is as wide as its flow and it's deep. This is deep and wide. Doesn't mean you're going to go there and not have losing trades. But if you've been getting whipsawed, this is a place to be. It can be very boring.
Boring is good. Boring is good.
So
All right. So
overall, though, they crushed that volatility on the rally. Further evidence that maybe a temporary bottom was in the stocks. And this isn't trading advice. This is a review. But the things that happen before a rally, we have to find some stability that it's not going to continue to go down. Fear index, volatility is a fear index. This is it's money, and it was still we're not when the equities move down, money moves to treasuries. Treasuries tend to rise. We've had this discussion, and the fact that it was breaking hard was this market was in a very dangerous territory.
I'm gonna look for this trade on the opening call tomorrow. I know the guys are gonna be looking at gold, but I'm gonna look for this one.
All right. Everybody tune in. Have your friends too.
I'm gonna look for this one. I know we don't have any pre-market news, any big numbers this week. I think maybe a couple of minor numbers later on in the week. So I'm gonna look at that 8:20 Eastern, 7:20 Central open for a potential trade there. All right, we're coming up on time here, Coach. I think we got to all the questions. For Warren Chen, the first 5K payout, we get a hat. Once you request 5K of payouts from Topstep, you can send a request to join the payout club. Payout club is expanding. Heard that at Topstep a couple of times, and there's going to be tiers to it. But the first tier is 5K. You get a hat and a pin. There is, and full disclosure, there's one person mailing out all of these, so be patient with it. But what I can say is, if you request 5K in payouts and you come on Topstep TV, you might get your hat expedited. Just a little tip there if anyone was looking for that hat. And then if your research code isn't working, sorry, but there's not much we can do about it here. I would either be patient, maybe they haven't activated the codes yet, or if it doesn't work after tomorrow, just send a ticket into support. And like Coach Paul said early on, be patient with those resets. Maybe don't even use it right away. Use it when you are in a space where you say, hey, you know what? I'm actually going to respect this reset, and I'm not just going to use it as, you know, a free bet like FanDuel gives out. It's like, give us $5 and you can bet $50 for free. It's just like, no, that's just their way of keeping you in their cycle, right? Topstep doesn't want to do that, right? And perfect example, the last time we gave out anything like a free reset or anything like that was probably a year ago, right? Because MP wanted to kind of tame that cycle habit that a lot of people get caught in. So
yeah, and a
use
big
that reset
shout
when you're
out
really
to
ready.
that, because that's a gambling attitude.
Yep.
We don't want our traders to learn by gambling. There's no life to that. You can't do that over time.
Can't sustain that.
No.
Billy says it expires April 25th. Okay. April 25th. So you have some time. You got 11 days in order to use it. Or even if you use it, right? Let's say you don't want it to expire, use it, and maybe don't use the account right away until you're ready to trade it maturely. I'm not talking to you, Siri.
Siri wants a reset.
Right. Anything else, Coach? Anything else you want to cover before we go?
That's it. Pay attention to the average true range. I think it's, it could be a place where you can do a little bit more according to it. Don't jump out into the minis yet. And find consistency. Consistency comes from a plan. That's it.
Good stuff, Coach. Thank you, everyone, as always, for joining us. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button on the way out. Remember, Coach Hoop is doing a class in Discord in about 18 minutes in Discord, so show some Coach Hoop some love over there. Then we have our other coaches, Coach Ray and Coach Vince, doing classes all the time in Discord as well, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. And then, of course, Dakota with slow markets at 7:30. Aaron Luce with the London Open 1 a.m. Central Time. And then D with the Euro Trade at 3:30 a.m. Central. And I'll see everyone tomorrow for the opening call, 7:20 Central Time. Trade well, manage your risk, don't blow that free reset, because you probably won't get another one for a year. Talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.